Good morning. Well, today is an important day. It's a unique day and a solemn day. And as the congressman said, on Armed Forces Day, we celebrate those who are currently serving in our military. And on Veterans Day, we honor those who have served in our military. But on Memorial Day, we mourn. We mourn those who lost their lives in service to our country. Now, whether it be that they served in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force, or Space Force, we are indebted to them, and today we remember our dead. On Memorial Day, I often think of Gold Star parents who have lost a child in battle, and this year I especially think of U.S. Army Second Lieutenant Evan Fitzgibbon, who was killed this past year in a training incident while training for the service of his country. He is an alumni of my child's school, Foundation Academy. I think of the legacy of World War II veteran or hometown hero George McMillan, a member of the famous Flying Tigers. And when he first came home, the Orlando Sentinel declared McMillan had carried the honor of his hometown, Orange County, and the whole United States of America through the burning skies of Rangoon and Burma. Now, McMillan, after returning to the comforts of his home here in Winter Garden, he went back to battle in the skies against the Axis powers of evil. And it was on his 53rd mission that he was shot down and killed. He died, like so many, not just a hometown hero, but a national hero. And even today, we mourn him, his death, and the honor of his service. On days like Memorial Day, I also think of those who come home from battle and still suffer here on our own soil. They struggle to endure the impossible pains and horrors of war, the tragedies they have witnessed, friends they have lost, and brutalities they endured. Unable to cope with the seemingly impossible pain and anguish, many of them, victims of war, lose their lives at their own hands. And right now, they need our help and loyalty. In this country, for nearly 200 years, we honored our dead. The American Revolution, the War of 1812, the Seminole Wars, the American Civil War, the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, the Korean War. But then something tragically different happened with Vietnam War. For the first time in our history, suddenly, United States citizens who politically disagreed with a war began to take out their bitterness and anger upon our soldiers. When those soldiers came home after witnessing total horror, in many cases, were spat upon by activist civilians. And then these Vietnam veterans, they came home and their government failed them too, as they struggled, many of them, to receive the proper benefits after they served in Vietnam. This is still a lesson for us today. The shift of changing attitudes toward our Vietnam veterans and those who fought in that war and were lost in that war would not begin until the 1980s, when in 1982, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial was constructed in Washington, D.C. That was to honor the 58,318 members of our military who gave their lives during that war. Reactions toward our soldiers began to shift in the Gulf War and the ongoing global war on terror. And this seems to be evidence that we have corrected course as a people. But on Memorial Day, we must not forget what happened during that time, what happened in Vietnam. Because although we live in a season where nearly all perform the correct duty of honoring our veterans, some, through a thinly veiled disguise, choose to turn their back on America and curse it. We reject that. The America that we know is the greatest country the face of the earth has ever seen, and our soldiers secured that. As a result, in America, we live in a time where we have more luxuries and comforts accessible to more people than ever seen before in human history. And although there are still great pains and sufferings abroad and here at home, we are grateful that there are men and women in uniform risking their own lives to make our world an even better place. Abraham Lincoln was not wrong. America is the world's last best hope. Now, in closing, there is something to be said about the times we live in. We are now met with simultaneous emotions of awe and fear as we witness the rapid and powerful emergence of artificial intelligence. Technologies that can think and produce unique analysis, problem solving, and even art and poetry. Technologies that teach themselves and advance independently of their human creator. Now, while AI brings hope toward achieving great missions, such as solving cancer, it also brings great fear of a takeover, a replacement of the human species. But let's be very clear, this technology, while it can reproduce what humans have created in the way humans think and in ever increasingly powerful speeds, AI can never reproduce what God has created. It can only mimic it. And on this Memorial Day, we stand here performing a critical example of the difference between AI and God's creations. Something necessarily unique apart from technology is that God's creations mourn. They mourn and honor their dead, just as we do here today. So as we honor the lives that secured our lives, the sacrifice they made for the comforts that we have today, we are assured that we are God's people, and those who fight to protect innocence and righteousness throughout this world will see the face of God. Now may He keep our fallen and comfort those left in mourning. God bless America, God bless all of you, and God bless our armed forces. Thank you.